Hello and welcome back for the final time to the World Cup of Pokemon VGC, hosted by Victory Road, sponsored by Elgato, and won by Spain. They did just clinch the championship in that previous game. We still do have the final game to be featuring for you. We're not going to leave you with just the 6 games. We do still have this final one. Unfortunately, it didn't go to the 3-3 record that the managers did want to end up happening. We do already have our champion, but we are going to feature this final game.
We are, and it's between some great players once again. My lord, I'm just going to have to say it once more. Huge congrats to Spain for being able to go ahead and be crowned the first world champions sponsored by, or not sponsored, but from Victory Road's events, that is. But yes, huge props to them, huge commiserations to Italy, but also congratulations, because I don't think this final could have been any better than what it was if it weren't for these two teams putting in so much work, so much effort, and bringing so much class and experience, be able to week in and week out, and especially with this finals, they've given us a fantastic show, in all honesty. But yeah, we are going to be going ahead featuring, like Jamie mentioned, the next match, which is going to be between Davide and Guillermo, as we do have a bit of a summarization of how the previous matches did go. 5-3 for Spain, but let's see if it's going to be rounded off with either a 6-3 or a 5 sorry, apologies, not 5-3, it's 4-3, isn't it, Jamie? Or am I
5-2 or 4-3 is
5-2 or 4-3.
That's we can get. Yes.
I don't know maths. So yes.
Yeah, leave it to the maths teacher, Costa. So yeah, we do already have our victors here. Shout outs to Manuel Barrea as well. They did end up being the tournament MVP with their final win there, putting them at 8-1 and just picking out Yu Zhang from China. So congratulations to Manuel and congratulations to Spain. But we will be looking at our final game between Davide and Guillermo. We can just have a look at how they have done so far in this tournament. Just for the final time, we've still got Davide there with the undefeated record. We'll have to see if they can continue that in this final game. And Guillermo coming out again with a very strong record of the 7-1.
Yeah, and I do like a couple of the teams. I think Davide's gone ahead and brought Gyarados as well, which I do find really nice. We have seen a bit of that Como-O as previously today it was observed, so I'd be quite curious to see if he may even decide to bring that out right now. But over on Guillermo's side, you do have a variety of different Pokemon and actually different restricted. So he does, like he mentioned in yesterday's interviews, he is quite flexible with regards to which kind of team and archetypes he does bring. So it is quite fascinating to see if he's going to try to stick to that trend or maybe spice it up, since of course we would have known, or he would have known at that time, that Spain did already win. So maybe try to bring something spicy for the final match, perhaps.
Yeah, we did get a little bit of sneak peek of the spice that Guillermo is going to be bringing. We can have a look at what the teams that both players are going to be bringing to this final matchup. We can start off here with Guillermo. We did get that sneak peek of the Dragonites. So Pokemon that did pop up slightly at the start, but then fell off quite a lot. It does have access to that inner focus, so it is immune to the Intimidates, immune to the Fake Outs, and does have a very nice typing going into this format with the Dragon flying.
Oh, yeah, definitely. As I do find it quite interesting, you did mention that inner focus, which is not something that you commonly use or you commonly see in general. I think it did get that buff due to the Gen 8, I was going to say, in previous generations. But it being the mascot of Spain as well is quite fitting. You can see Guillermo going ahead with it. He wants to try to make a statement, and that is what he's doing. He's bringing the mascot to this match as Spain were crowned champions. He's no stranger at all to the competitive scene, especially to the highest levels, being the bottom regional champion, 7th place in world. So quite a veteran indeed, and 2-time national champion. Spain in 2011 and Italy 2012.
Yeah, it's a really nice touch bringing the Dragonites being the mascot of Spain there for Guillermo. We'll have to see if there's going to be a Gengar coming out for Italy's side of the field, for Davide's side of the field, and a little bit disappointing not to see one. Maybe you wanted to bring the Ghastly or the Haunter either, but still some very strong Pokemon coming out. A team we've already featured previously on this stream with the Zacian, the Incineroar, Rillaboom, Pelipper, Moltres, Galarian Moltres, and the Ferrothorn.
Yeah, and it did do really well as well, didn't it, Jamie? Where we did see that Moltres put in so much work. This time round, of course, it's not faced up against a Calyrex Shadow Rider, which it does have a resounding advantage against, as it were, an Assault Vest. So it does seem to be like it is that exact same team. We'll see, of course, how the sets on those particular Pokemon do unfold, as Davide as well is no stranger to that high-level competitive scene in real-life events. Top 4 in the Tours a special event 2018, top 4 in Malmo Regionals 2018 as well, so very good 2018 season for him, and top 4 in the European Internationals of 2017, which were actually the first internationals ever hosted with the competitive circuit.
Yeah, so still going to be a very strong game for this final match between these two players. So even though there's no longer the championship to play for, we've still got some pride to play for. Try and get that 4-3 instead of the 5-2 coming out. So yeah, I'm very interested to see this Dragonite come out here. It's not going to be doing too well against the opposing Zacian if it is carrying the play rough, but it does match up into all 5 of the other Pokemon very well. It's got access to dual wing beat, so it's got a physical flying type attack that does some consistent damage there, especially with that Life Orb going to be boosting up. Can't be intimidated or faked out by the Incineroar or the Rillaboom as well. If it's carrying access to something like Fire Punch, it's going to be able to deal with the Frothorn as well, and matches up pretty well into the Moltres. It would be able to do some good damage if it had Foul Play on that Moltres, but otherwise the Dragonite will be able to shrug off most of the attacks it would want to go for. And then you've still got to contend with the Calyrex as well. Moltres is definitely a Pokemon that wants to be facing down that Pokemon, but then you've got Pokemon like the Regieleki, like the Stack Attacker as well, that would match up very well into the opposing Moltres and would be able to deal with them pretty well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Moltres come to this game. That is pretty much what it is designed to do, to be able to face down against opposing Calyrex teams. But I definitely do want to be seeing the Dragonite come to this game, because it would be really nice touch to see Spain's mascot coming to their final match.
And like you said, I think Dragonite actually has a quite viable position in this meta, if you actually think about it, with that trio combination of, let's say, for example, the Ward of Grass and Fire, most of the times being the Incineroar, Rillaboom, and Urshifu Rapid Strike. So very nice touch and placing into it, as we are going to be going into Game 1 of our final set of the World Cup, hosted by Victory Road. We're going to be seeing it from Guillermo's side, of course. He's going to be bringing that Incineroar and the Dragonite straight up as a lead. Incineroar going quite well, being able to be in a really good position against that Zacian, bringing it back down to neutral of its attack, whilst also dropping that Rillaboom's attack to -1. So Davide not liking this situation already.
Yeah, being able to get the Intimidate down onto the Zacian and the Rillaboom is a really good start, but I'm not sure if that's enough to allow the Dragonite to survive a play rough coming out from the Zacian. It definitely would be for just a Behemoth Blades, and if it's just opting for the previously run Zacian sets with just the Steel and the fighting coverage, then the Dragonite's in a reasonable position. But play rough being picked up on Zacian so much probably still is going to threaten the Dragonite a bit too much at this point. Maybe you want to pivot out your Incineroar once again, because the fake out war is effectively won by the Rillaboom at this point, because it is naturally outspeeding, and yeah, that is exactly what we're seeing here.
Wow, makes a lot of sense. Calyrex is now on the field. Dragonite is in a situation where it just has to make sure to make the read correct. You see Guillermo just prepping in that situation, but like you mentioned, Dragonite actually wanting to just go for the safe protect right now. It's in a good situation. Rillaboom did try to actually go into that target. Makes a lot of sense. Of course, the Ghost immunity to normal typing is the interaction we observed there, as Zacian did try to go for that play rough into the protect. So Jamie, stalemate situation, but good position for Guillermo, being able to bring that Calyrex now onto the front.
Yeah, and you've got the Incineroar in the back as well, so you just get to switch it in very freely at this point and get the Intimidate down onto both the Zacian and the Rillaboom. Should keep the Calyrex somewhat safer if you just want to launch off that Astral Barrage. It was still doing some very good damage, even with just the Incineroar switching in to keep it safe. Maybe able to survive a knockoff coming out from the Rillaboom. It would definitely be able to survive a combination of the attacks with the Intimidates coming out if it's not a knockoff, but if it is, that's going to be a bit more awkward for this Calyrex.
Yeah, as like you mentioned, that Incineroar is once again coming onto the field. Intimidate now dropping Zacian's attack to -1 and Rillaboom's to -2, as Calyrex wanting to go for the protect. So Guillermo is all about the repositioning, and it is working so well for him right now, as he's got that fake out available on the field for the subsequent turn. And Zacian did try to go for the protect, and we saw Rillaboom trying to target down that Calyrex as well. So Incineroar in a phenomenal position right now.
Yeah, really good position. You don't have to worry about the fake out that come out from the opposing Rillaboom at this point anymore. You've intimidated both Pokemon down to -2 or -1 for Zacian and -2 on the Rillaboom at this point, and you just get to click fake out into one of them and launch your Astral Barrage at this point, and maybe go for a setup if you got the substitute on the Calyrex, or maybe the Nasty Plot as well. You could go for that pretty freely at this point because you do have the Intimidates down onto the opposing Pokemon. You do have the fake out pressure. The Zacian's not going to be doing too much damage to the Calyrex at this point. It will be able to shrug off the Behemoth Blade. The knockoff could still be doing some very good damage to the opposing Calyrex, so maybe you do want to be going for the fake out into the opposing Rillaboom, and that would definitely be a good idea because the Zacian is now switching out into that Moltres.
Yeah, exactly that. So the situation is going to change for Davide, trying to go and get that repositioning going. But the Calyrex, Jamie, doesn't even try to go for that attack. It wants to go for the Nasty Plot, being able to catapult its special attack straight up to +2. And of course, the Moltres is on the field. And if this is akin to a previous Galarian Moltres we have seen, it may be running that Assault Vest, which will still tank this Calyrex's Astral Barrage quite well.
Yeah, +2 is not going to help Calyrex against an Assault Vest Moltres. It's still going to shrug it off very, very well. You do have to be concerned about a potential Grassy Glide and Sucker Punch that could be going into Calyrex. That might be why it's protecting itself here.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense, as we do actually see the Rillaboom ignoring that slot. It goes for the U-turn into Incineroar, so Davide wanting to go ahead and put the pressure, make the correct read of the slot to target onto Guillermo. Does, of course, go ahead, bring that Zacian in on the field. It is now back up to +1. It is not affected by any sort of parting shots unless we do see that come out, as the Moltres does try to go for that Fiery Wrath. It may have a chance to pick up a flinch here, so if Davide is lucky enough, they can do that and try to slow down the momentum on Guillermo's side, but no, we see the parting shot is able to successfully get targeted into that Zacian, being able to now bring it down to neutral. But kind of like what we were mentioning, Jamie, we've got a situation where Incineroar just left the field. It can be brought straight back onto it for that Calyrex slot, and you just see all of this repositioning on Guillermo's side, just able to slow down Davide's tracks.
Yeah, and switching into Regieleki is going to be able to threaten the Moltres very well as well. Even if it is carrying the Assault Vest, you'll still be doing some very, very good damage to the opposing Moltres, especially with the +2 boost on the Astral Barrage that could be coming out as well.
Yeah, exactly, but we just see a protect from Zacian, no switch outs. Wow, the Sucker Punch deals so much damage onto the Calyrex Shadow Rider. Doesn't even bring it down though to its Focus Sash. The Thunderbolt into the Moltres will be proccing that Berserk ability, allowing this Moltres to now be attacking even more powerfully with that Fiery Wrath, now at +1 of its special attack, but it has to try to endure this Astral Barrage +2, which it does comfortably, as in this situation, I'm not sure if that was a single target. Oh no, apologies, it was Sucker Punch, wasn't it, Jamie?
Yeah, it was the Sucker Punch that came out. Didn't even bring the Calyrex down to a potential Focus Sash, so you don't even get the reveal of that item. Sometimes the Moltres aren't trained in its attack, maybe even reducing its attack for extra damage or bulk elsewhere, maybe even speed, so not guaranteed to pick up the one-hit KO on the Calyrex, and just showing that there with that Sucker Punch, not even bringing it down to a Focus Sash.
Yeah, it may even be suggested that it could be a bulky Calyrex, you never know, as we see the Sucker Punch failing due to the Calyrex going for that Protect. Volt Switch following immediately after from the Regieleki does go into that Zacian slot, and like we've previously mentioned, Guillermo has a very free switching of that Incineroar, able to bring that Zacian's attack now down to -1, so we just see the constant revolutions from Guillermo's side, being able to rotate at a constant level as the Play Rough does try to target it down, but at -1, it's not going to be dealing much damage at all.
No, not at all. And now you get a very free fake out on Astral Barrage into the opposing Pokemon. Zacian's taken some pretty reasonable chip at this point. Might possibly be in range of that +2 attack. Moltres, it looked like it is going to be in range based on the previous damage from the Astral Barrage. So it's a very free fake out, and Astral Barrage, if you do want to be clicking that, you can put a stop to the Sucker Punches coming out from the opposing Moltres. There's not too much that Davide can do at this point. Maybe you switch out the Moltres because it's going to be carrying the Assault Vest. You can't protect it. If you do want to preserve it so you can Sucker Punch the Calyrex in the future, you'd have to switch it out, and then something else is going to have to take that +2 Astral Barrage, and not many Pokemon are going to be wanting to do that. So it's still a very awkward position for Davide here.
Oh, definitely. As the Zacian doesn't actually opt to switch out here, just goes for that protect. As Incineroar does actually target correctly, it goes for that Moltres. It makes a lot of sense to do so, as Calyrex is now going to be able to pick up the KO from the nasty block it had previously obtained. +2 of its special attack. Guess what? Going straight up to +3 after that KO. So Grimnade allowing itself to do so. But then again, Jamie, we do see Davide have a free switch in right now to perhaps try to change the balance of this game.
If it's going to be the Rillaboom at least, that's going to be able to put on some pressure with the Grassy Glide. The Calyrex is still going to be in range of that attack at this point, so can pretty freely pick up the knockout there. We'll have to see if the Calyrex is going to be protecting itself from that potential attack. The Zacian is not doing too well at the moment because it is still sitting at -1 stages of attack. We saw how much the play rough did to the Incineroar. Not going to be enough to pick up the KO. That would allow the Incineroar to be able to go for a Flare Blitz into either of the Pokemon here and do some super effective and very good damage as well. You're able to protect the Calyrex and knock out the Rillaboom with just one Flare Blitz. That will take care of the Grassy Glides that could come out, and then you free up your Calyrex to be able to go for those Astral Barrages. And now sitting at +3 stages of attack, and with the Ferrothorn coming in, if you can land those Astral Barrages, that's just going to be picking up all the KOs, but Grassy Glide's going to come out and take care of the Calyrex.
Oh, you see that Rillaboom having access to the priority Grassy Glide thanks to the grass terrain makes a lot of sense here, as we see the Incineroar once again trying to get that pivot action going for itself, targeting into that Rillaboom right now, so trying to reduce its damage output from the get-go. It does, of course, allow Guillermo to get that switch in to the team mascot being the Dragonite. So Dragonite is in a very interesting situation here. It is directly threatening that Rillaboom, whilst Guillermo's very free to just go ahead and bring that Incineroar in all honesty, and either threaten the KO onto the Ferrothorn or maybe even go for yet another parting shot. As I believe Jamie is in awe of the situation. He's back. Yes.
I am back. Yes. No, I am so in awe of the situation. Yeah, because it's slightly awkward here, because if you just go for the dual wing beat into the Rillaboom, that could switch out into the Zacian, which would be able to take it. Maybe you do protect the Ferrothorn so that you can survive or not get KO'd by the Flare Blitz that turn, and that would allow you to be able to play off the Dragonites at that point. So maybe you go for the double target into the Rillaboom with the Flare Blitz and the dual wing beats, but then if the Zacian does switch in, you do catch that, the Flare Blitz would pick up that KO at that point.
Yeah, exactly. As we're going to be seeing the Rillaboom switch out, and Guillermo looks very happy from seeing that situation unfold, as the Zacian may be susceptible to a square Flare Blitz straight into that slot. We see the dual wind beat. This may be a double up then from Guillermo's side. It deals so much damage. That second hit actually picking up a critical hit right there, which is quite nice. We see the Dragonite's Life Orb recoil coming into play there. And yes, the Flare Blitz comes out, goes into the Zacian slot. Davide not happy with that. We see the KO being picked up, and this is looking like so much good momentum for Guillermo's side. But let's not forget, if this Ferrothorn does have Iron Defense Body Press as a move of a set choice, that is quite nice, and maybe to try to position himself better, as we just see the raw Body Press Jamie here doesn't even pick up the KO. So maybe it would have been a better situation if that Body Press had been, if that Iron Defense had been set up.
If you go for the Iron Defense, that is at least a chance back into the game. Not a great one, because the Incineroar will still be able to get a Flare Blitz off at some point. Switching into the Rillaboom here, you can only go for the fake out onto the opposing Incineroar. Dragonite's going to be immune to that, assuming it is going to be carrying that inner focus, especially because you've got the Life Orb that would break any multi-scales. So yeah, you just get to click the dual wing beat into the opposing Rillaboom here. That should pick up a knockout with the Life Orb, and the Grassy Glide's not enough on the Incineroar, so potentially a double knockout here.
Yeah, exactly that. No fake outs from that Rillaboom, which is quite questionable. We see the dual wind beat more than enough to pick up the KO there, especially thanks to that flying typing, same type attack boost plus the Life Orb. And Flare Blitz goes ahead, squares off straight into the Ferrothorn, of course at ×4, super effective, picks up the KO, does actually go down to that Iron Barb's ability interaction there, as it was a contact move. But Guillermo Castilla winning game 1 versus Davide Cauteruccio.
Yeah, and so it seemed like Guillermo had pretty much the momentum for the entirety of that game. The Calyrex was eventually dealt with. It got to +3 stages of special attack, so its Astral Barrages would have been doing a huge amount of damage. But at that point, to be able to pick up the knockout onto the Calyrex, not enough momentum was gained. The Moltres was KO'd at that point, and then the Dragonite was able to clean up the rest of the game. Being able to catch the Zacian on the switch in meant that was the only Pokemon that could deal with the Dragonite in that end game with the play rough. But as soon as that was taken care of, then that was just the game for Guillermo. So really nicely played from Guillermo's side of the field. I don't think there's too much that needs to be done differently. The Stack Attacker and the Rillaboom aren't going to be doing too well into this game, and the 4 Pokemon that Guillermo did bring did seem to be putting in a lot of work. The Dragonites maybe not so much as a lead, but very much so in the end game. The Calyrex with the nasty plot, especially with the Focus Sash as well, that wasn't actually revealed, so Davide doesn't have confirmation of that item because the Sucker Punch was not strong enough to bring it down to that Focus Sash. Wouldn't have mattered because it would have survived that attack regardless, but you just don't get that extra information, unfortunately. But yeah, the nasty plot on the Calyrex turns into such a threat. You can see the Astral Barrages even into the Assault Vest of the Moltres was able, in combination with that Thunderbolt, to be able to pick up a 2-hit knockout on the remaining HP of the Moltres, and with the fake out pressure from the Incineroar, that got rid of the main Pokemon that would be dealing with the Calyrex, and too much damage at that point was done from the Calyrex setting up the nasty plot, launching the Astral Barrages to be able to come back, since the Dragonite was able to just hit the field, do a really good amount of damage to the opposing Pokemon. You can see the dual wing beats is able to knock out the Rillaboom in one shot, so it's a really nice counter to a lot of the common Pokemon, especially with the inner focus, especially with the ability to just knock out something like the Rillaboom in one shot. Maybe the Ferrothorn needs to be getting up those iron defenses with access to body press. You've got to assume it's got that iron defense. If you get that iron defense with the Calyrex taken care of, that could be a way back into the game.
Yeah, exactly that. I completely agree. As we're going to be seeing Davide lead with that Rillaboom and Zacian, as opposed to Guillermo leading with that Dragonite yet again, accompanied by the Calyrex Shadow Rider straight off the bat.
So you've got to be concerned about the most likely Incineroar waiting in the back at this point. You don't catch the Zacian and the Rillaboom straight away with the Intimidate, but you can always just pivot into the Incineroar with either Pokemon you would want to at this point. If you do it with the Calyrex, then Play Rough could still knock out the Dragonite, so we didn't get to see that interaction in the previous game, but you've got to assume that would still be strong enough at this point. Calyrex is going to be switching out into the Incineroar, so we'll have to see if the Dragonite's going to be protecting itself here from the potential Play Rough, or just trying to pick up the knockout on that Rillaboom immediately with the dual wing beat.
Yeah, exactly that, as Intimidate is going to be allowing the Rillaboom to go down to -1 of its attack, whilst the Zacian is now down at neutral. I think Incineroar is such a good switch in, has a very good synergy with that Calyrex Shadow Rider being able to go ahead and switch in for it. We do see the Play Rough trying to target down that Dragonite, failing to do so, of course being met with the Protect and drum beating from this Rillaboom, targeting the Incineroar down right now, being able to bring its speed to -1 and deal a bit of chip damage, which of course is going to be a slightly regained due to the grassy terrain.
Yeah, so not too concerned about the speed drop or the damage at this point. And so nice switch in to be able to get the Intimidate, get the fake out pressure back on the field. And Rillaboom is going to be switching out here because Guillermo does have a very free fake out into the Zacian and dual wing beat into that Rillaboom slot. We're going to be faking out the Zacian at least, so we have to see what the Dragonite's going for.
Yeah, exactly that, as the Zacian is not going to be allowed to move right now. We see the dual wing beat coming out, trying to target down that Rillaboom, pick up a KO. Of course, is met with that Ferrothorn, and due to the interaction of the Iron Barbs, we see it being procced twice there, and then additional damage taken off from that Life Orb recoil. So Dragonite actually being punished quite heavily for that targeting right there, as the Ferrothorn, I think, is in a really good spot. It does depend, like we mentioned, Jamie, on what particular set this is. This does have leftovers, so of course it does reveal it is not an Assault Vest variant. It is potentially, hopefully, for Davide's side of the field, be carrying that iron defense for it.
This would be an opportunity to go for it. You are still facing down the opposing Incineroar, but if it does go for the Flare Blitz into the Ferrothorn, that's ignoring the Zacian this turn. And that could be allowing it to just go for the Play Rough to pick up the knockout on the Dragonite. It could be going for any kind of setup with the Swords Dance or the Substitute as well. If it's carrying access to a fighting type attack, be doing some good damage to the Incineroar, but it is going to be that Swords Dance here.
Yeah, Swords Dance makes a lot of sense right now. You want to be able to further add on that damage for the Zacian to be able to do a lot of work. Dual Wind Beat switching in there. Maybe Guillermo going for a read, perhaps on that Rillaboom. We do see the Flare Blitz. Which Pokemon does it target down? It goes for the Zacian, and it does pick up the KO. Guillermo very happy about that. Let's see what the Ferrothorn, though, does as well, as this may be a situation Davide can start setting up against it. It only sets sets up Leech Seed instead of Iron Defense, so wanting to try to regain a bit of HP there. I think Davide was trying to go for the gamble of, okay, you either Flare Blitz into one Pokemon or the other, and maybe I'm going to start setting up with both of them, but I'm not sure if Leech Seed may have been the best move to go for in that situation.
Especially because the Incineroar can just switch out, whether that's just a hard switch out or the parting shot as well. It doesn't really care about the Leech Seed at this point, and the Frothon's going to be in range of the Flare Blitz because the Iron Defense wasn't set up. If the Rillaboom comes back in, you're just going to be KO'd to the dual Wing Beat. If the Moltres comes in, which you've got to assume it came to this match because of the Calyrex, then that's still not going to be doing too much damage to the opposing Pokemon. Rillaboom is going to join the field, and that's just going to be KO'd to a dual Wing Beat that come out from the Dragonites. You've just got to be able to connect that attack, and then that's another KO. Down to the last two Pokemon, most likely the Moltres and the Frothorn. You can't really deal with the Incineroar this turn unless you go for something like a Fake Out and a Body Press. That may not even be enough to pick up the KO on the Incineroar at this point, and that's still not setting up an Iron Defense to be able to contend with this Dragonite and the Incineroar a bit better. And the Iron Defense doesn't really help against the opposing Calyrex either, because that's just going to be able to bypass the defenses and hit on the specialty defensive side. So it's still a very awkward position for Davide, especially losing that Zacian as it went for that setup and being KO'd to that double up. It's freed up Guillermo very considerably here.
Yeah, as we're going to be seeing the Regieleki now on the field, and Davide goes for the fake out into the Regieleki, not trying to completely utilize as much as they could have there, but of course that dual Wind Beat goes ahead, picks up that KO onto the Rillaboom. So what does this Ferrothorn do is the real question. Does it have Iron Defense? Yes, it does, and we finally see Davide go for it. I feel this would have been very, very good if we had seen it earlier, but then again, I guess you force that Incineroar to switch out, and essentially you're guaranteed 2 Iron Defense setups right there. So a lot of mind games going into this situation. Guillermo seemingly to have the advantage, but then again, that Ferrothorn, as we've seen in previous matches and times, can 1v4 if put in the correct situation.
I don't know if this is the situation for it though, because you're down to the last 2 Pokemon with just the Moltres and the Frothorn. If you deal with the Moltres, you win with the Calyrex against the opposing Frothorn, because it can only Leech Seed and it will just eventually be able to do damage to it. Protecting the Regieleki here, not going on the offensive with the Thunderbolt just yet. So as the Dragonite just going for the extreme speed, getting that extra chip. By saying chip, that was a considerable chunk of damage.
Oh, definitely. As we see the Fiery Wrath coming out from that Moltres, it will be, of course, connecting with the Dragonite, and not quite enough to pick up the KO there, but yes, the Ferrothorn from Davide's side is going to be trying to go ahead and set up yet another Iron Defense, now skyrocketing its defense up to +4. But like you mentioned, Jamie, I think the main threat right now is the Calyrex in the back, as it's open to go ahead and deal a lot of damage. It does have that Focus Sash, so I feel like if only that Moltres did have access to protect, maybe Davide would be able to try to push this forwards, but the game's not over.
It's not at this point. You're just going to be switching out into the Incineroar, get the fake out pressure back as well, and now you can just go on the offensive with the Regieleki. We saw how much damage it did in the previous game with the Thunderbolt. Might be in range with the Moltres, and even if it's not, you just get to click fake out the next turn, and that would even just pick up the extra bit of damage into the Moltres.
Yeah, exactly that. And wow, we see the Moltres strong enough to withstand that attack thanks to the Assault Fest, as the Fiery Wrath, now at +1 of its special attack, nearly picks up the KO on Regieleki, but not quite enough to do so. It does a lot of damage actually onto that Incineroar, which will be able to proc its Citrus Berry. Ferrothorn, on the other hand, goes for the Body Press, tries to connect, and does so into the Regieleki, which is quite nice for Davide in a sense, but then again, you still have the Calyrex and Incineroar to contend to. If you are that Ferrothorn, you need to get those 2, mainly that Calyrex off of the field somehow.
Yeah, I don't think Davide is going to be able to do it. The Moltres has been put so low at this point. It's almost certainly going to be in range of Fake Out, and you just get to click Fake Out, Nasty Plot, maybe even get up to +6. You probably don't need to at this point, but you might as well get one Nasty Plot set up, because the Frothorn can only damage with Leech Seed. So yeah, the Calyrex would easily be able to take that game for Guillermo, and the forfeit is locked in for Davide. Spain are going to be able to win this finals 5-2. Once again, we see a 2-0 win from all of all of these players throughout all of this finals. No games going to game 3, so all 2-0s, and it ends up being a 10-0 sweep for Spain. They didn't drop a single set. They didn't even draw a single set throughout the entirety of this tournament. They did completely sweep through the World Cup 10-0.
I honestly can't believe it. I'm gonna be completely frank with you, Jamie. The sheer amazing form that Spain have been on has honestly been inspirational, to be quite frank. As you see a team obviously put together so well, and they work immensely hard and all that with the teamwork, the strategies that are implemented in what kind of teams they're going to be bringing, the revision and study like Guillermo was mentioning yesterday that they do onto their opponent's side. It's just absolutely impressive, and I would say it makes a lot of sense. They have ran completely undefeated. If there was a team that could beat them, it would be Italy. It would be in this final. But guess what? We see Spain just going ahead and just proving why they deserve the World Cup, and they've just gone ahead and done it. They've done it in such a remarkable fashion.
Yeah, it was incredible to see them. Really, really strong play across this weekend. I'm sure you agree with me that these matches are definitely worthy of a final of a World Cup. So just a huge congratulations to Spain for such an incredible run, being able to be crowned Victory Road's first World Cup champions. And yeah, it's just been an absolutely fantastic tournament, an amazing 10 weeks, whittling down from 55 countries all the way finally just to 1.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think it's been such an amazing journey, hasn't it, Jamie? So we've been through a lot. We've seen a lot of high-level VGC, and it's just been such a pleasure to be part of this. It's just being able to see all different types of communities around the globe unifying in a way to, just go ahead and enjoy the game. Just play a lot of high-level competitive Pokemon VGC. It's just been amazing. It has been really such a joy. And honestly, I want to give a couple of shout-outs as well, just very quickly before we wrap up. That would be to our fellow co-casters straight off the bat. We've got, let me get my list real quick. We've got Lou, we've got Ben, we've got Gabby, Maeve, David Partington, JJ, Sierra, Stefan Mott, Jake Muller, and Joe UX9, and the staff of VR. I could go through a lot of them right now, but there's a lot of them. I would start off with Ruben, David, Nati, Alberto. I'm sure there are a lot of people as well in behind the scenes, but I've got to give a very special shout out to Mr. Sufi, which is our main producer that has been doing so much work, and he's been putting in all of the effort, as we do actually have player stats as well, as he's signaling to me off screen that we should try to go ahead and cover very quickly. So we'll go straight over to that slide as well and get over the emotional stuff.
Yeah, so we can see here that Manuel Barrea was able to clutch out that last game and take the title of MVP for themselves. Wang Yuzhang was able to still secure that second place. So even though China weren't able to make it to the finals, Yuzhang was still able to come second. And Guillermo with their win in that final game as well, securing that third place for MVP. So 3-8-1 records coming out from 3 players here. And some still very solid records from 4th place downwards as well. But a really well done to the top 3 players here.
Honestly, it makes a lot of sense. They put a lot of work in it, and we've been able to observe it throughout the weeks. Absolutely phenomenal. Of course, you see a lot of Spanish and Italian flags there, like we did see in the pre-show yesterday. I do want to once again give shout out to Yu Zhang for being able to represent China so well, as we do know that they don't have as many local big event scenes as the rest of the community. So huge props to them for being able to put in so much work and prove that they are a very formidable side that is not to be underestimated in any sort of form. So that's just amazing. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's just been an absolute blast and pleasure to be here, even though, it was a huge blast to beat Jamie Boy on stream yesterday, pre-show. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and check it out. Apparently his most embarrassing moment of VGC. But yes, I think it's just been great. We're so appreciative of how everybody's been able to unify together in such a great event that Victory Road was able to host for us, sponsored of course by Elgato. So huge shout outs to Elgato as well for the mics and all the software that they're able to provide. The best if you want to try and get into streams. So please go ahead if you're interested. Check out the Wave 3 mic or even the Facecam. They are top-notch quality and the software is amazing.
Yeah, and so I can't believe we finally made it to the end. This is going to be a goodbye from us. Thank you so much for joining us across these 10 weeks. It has been a fantastic tournament, and I will just give a quick shout out to you, Costa, because we are also on that list. You did miss me off your list of casters, so I'm going to ignore that slightly.
You noticed!
Your birthday,
you noticed!
There we go. So yeah, that is going to be it from us. Thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations to Spain for winning the World Cup of Pokemon VGC.
That's us, folks. Take care.